Future Bets NCAA tournament. Before the first tip-off, we're going to hear who Marco got his Stromboli on.
Well, I'm going to actually give...
Capicoli. What's your favorite Italian meat?
Prosciutto.
Prosciutto. Now, that's not too rich for you. Do you have a whole sandwich of prosciutto, or do you just do you accent it?
I like to use it with melons and, just, put it on.
Because you're a health nut, and the fruit's key.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, so you're giving us two future bets.
We're going to go one on each side of the bracket because, obviously two teams got to play for the championship.
How excited would you be if they're facing each other?
I would be ecstatic, and I would be calling you every minute. Telling you, I got the winner of the championship game.
All right, so give us your first.
All right, we're going to go with my top pick and the most logical pick, and I know, and I'm going to preface this right out of the gate, not a homer pick. I'm going to tell you why I like them. I like the Pitt Panthers, and they're the 4th seed according to the the committee. I think they have the easiest road to the Final Four of the teams, and I'm going to tell you first.
What's the payoff right now?
Right now, I got down at the M here in town at 7-1 on Pitt to win it all. This team, I think the best thing that could have happened to them was losing the first game of the Big East tournament. And the Big East tournament is, to me, it's such a grueling tournament. I think, and I've said it numerous times, I believe the Big East is the best conference in college basketball, but it is also one of the most physical conferences. These teams beat up on one another every night. And Pitt, to make that early exit, they're going to be fresh, focused, good week of practice.
I agree. So let's talk about this because I believe this is, we talked in a prior video, coaching is one of the keys in March Madness. I think the way that the teams played in the conference tournaments is one of the top keys also. And here's an example. Connecticut versus Pitt. Two sides of this, opposite sides of the same coin. Pitt loses the game. What happens? The public starts to question them. The team starts to feel like, geez, we have to redeem ourselves. And 3, they get rested. So there's value, motivation, and rest. Now, what's Connecticut? Connecticut, fatigue. And don't forget, these kids play 2 games a week. They played 5 games in 5 days. Fatigue. 2, you think they're super focused? It's like, hey, we knew we were this good, we turned it on. And lastly, fatigue. Or, I'm sorry, I think I said fatigue first. Lastly, public perception. How much higher is the public right now on Connecticut than they were before? So I think if all you do is bet the good teams that lost in the first round of their tournament and fade the average. Now, if a team's really good, like a Duke, I don't think you're so quick to fade them just because they know how to handle success. But if you find a non-elite team that wins a key conference tournament, fade them and play on the Pitts of the world, the good teams that lose in the first round, I think you're above 55%.
I can tell you this firsthand from everybody I talked to back in Pittsburgh. There was nobody really hanging their head that they lost that first round game. So this team's in a good frame of mind. I can tell you this, I believe firmly this is the best Pitt team in the Jamie Dixon era. They're the complete team. They play great defense. They're super rebounding team. They have one thing that they lacked in some of the other years was that big outside guy to go to that can knock down the 3. They have that this year in Aston Gibbs. And the one thing that Pitt did this year that really makes me confident in them to make a deep run is when their star player Gibbs was hurt. 2 key games on the road without him, they managed to win at West Virginia and at Villanova in the same week.
Now, what's your record on Pittsburgh teams?
Pittsburgh teams this year, I'm 16-9, going back football and basketball combined. Last year we were 49-22.
So it's like 66%. Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. You got connections. You got true inside information. I think there's value. Now, they're the 4th #1 seed based upon the payouts, too. Now, here's what's interesting. I've been talking about this a lot in the media. If I tell you you could have all the #1 seeds or you could have every other team in the tournament, who would you want?
I think the math's going to come out about 50-50.
It is. It is. Who do you want?
I'll take the number 1 seed this time.
It's funny. It's like literally 13-1 on the number 1 seeds. I've asked this to every radio host I've interviewed with. So, it's funny because it seems like the whole talk was who's number 1. Like a lot of people thinking San Diego State should have, before they had a loss or two, and then even BYU not too long before that. I mean, who? Really, what surprised me was San Diego State was the 5th favorite. They are here too. And then you've got North Carolina, Florida, Purdue, Texas. Who else do you really think? Well, maybe the way to answer that question is let's go to your other bracket.
Well, my other bracket is, and you just said it, the 5th favorite, San Diego State. And
really?
I think they're a dark horse. This is a team that's undefeated except against BYU. They've lost to nobody. Now, I know they play in the Mountain West Conference, and everybody's going to say, well, the Mountain West Conference is not a good conference. There's good teams there, and this team has done everything asked of them, and what I like about this team is they're again, to use that phrase, fundamentally sound. They've got a good outside game. They play defense, one of the better defensive teams in the country. They put the clamps down on you. I think they can make a run, and I really think the bracket that they're in, they're in the Duke bracket. I think Duke's overrated. The ACC.
So who's the 3rd seed in that bracket?
The 3rd seed in that bracket is Connecticut, and I think
I like that. I think
Connecticut.
They're overrated.
That's the other. Connecticut's overrated, but I think Connecticut's. They're going to run out of gas. The Big East tournament is going to have taken too much out of them to go the distance. That's why I like San Diego State to come out of this region, and I'll take my chance if they, if everything goes according to the seeds, they would meet Ohio State in the Final Four. I think they can beat Ohio State.
You'd be eating steak. What's that steak called that they pan fry in oil that you like so much? Don't they put a slice of ham on it?
Oh, I'd like veal saltimbocca.
Veal saltimbocca.
Yeah.
Okay, well, quesadilla amore. That's the dish
Oh,
up
no,
on
that's,
top?
that is the, they put seasoned breadcrumbs on the New York strip.
So they bread the New York strip.
Yes, sir.
So if it's San Diego State
versus Pitt,
you're eating a little breaded, deep-fried steak.
Let me tell you, I eat good no matter who's playing.
So it doesn't affect you.
You
don't lose your appetite after like an 0-for-3 night?
Maybe for about 15 minutes.
15? They have to let that sit for a while.
Yeah,
and then it's like 10 minutes later. Hey, bring that in there.
I'll just, have an extra appetizer just to get through the depression of the 0-3.
Because really, if you're winning, you eat to celebrate. And if you're losing, you eat for solace.
There you go.
All right.
Do you live to eat, or do you eat to live?
Both. All right. Too much of one, actually. Okay, so let's think about this. I find it interesting that you are thinking about the bracket so much. I think it's sharp because really, if we would have had a conversation an hour before Selection Sunday, you would have said, you probably wouldn't have been as high on San Diego State. You would have said, yeah, good team, whatever. But now you say, I think Duke's overrated. And I think that Connecticut's overrated. Now all of a sudden that affects your future is a good bet.
Absolutely. You have to look at it. And, to go to the other side of the coin, back to the Pitt one, Kansas is in, the other top seed on their side of the bracket. I think Kansas, is a good team, but I don't think they're invincible. And there's a team I think you're going to be talking about that's in their region that's going to give them a battle.
Now, so listen, I don't handicap college basketball near as well as or near as intently as the pros do. You're one of them. I'm going to pass on, I pride myself on talking to the best bettors I can here in town, even the guys that don't want to sell, and I'm here in Notre Dame, and I saw 22-1. What are you seeing?
Notre Dame 25-1 at the end.
Okay, so to me, when I think about that is now you're getting a payoff. And it strikes me that I don't have a ton to add other than passing that along. So let me ask you, what do you think?
Notre Dame is a very good ball club. Notre Dame, it came down to that 4th seed, in my opinion, was going to be Pitt or Notre Dame. There was a lot of speculation that when Pitt did make the exit in the first round, that it left the door open for Notre Dame. And I think if Notre Dame would have beat Louisville, just won one game and went one more game, it would have flip-flopped and they would have got that number 1 seed.
So how many teams are ahead of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they're the 11th team on the favor, but they're a 2 seed.
Yeah.
So really, Vegas is saying we don't think this team's underrated. We think they're overrated to get a 2 seed. Yeah. And you're saying they might have been one of the better 2 seeds.
Yes, absolutely.
So what's Vegas now for a guy that respects the line? What's Vegas? And Notre Dame's a marquee team with a huge following.
They are. But the situation, Notre Dame, they're the marquee team, but they don't carry the weight in basketball that they carry in football as far as marquee.
You got a lot of alum, though.
You do have a lot of alum, but on the flip side of that, there is a lot of love for this Kansas team, and I disagree with I just don't think Kansas is as good as than their ranking. They've played it great. They've only got 2 losses on the season.
I hear you.
But I don't think the Big 12 in general was as strong as past Big 12 editions. You have a little more insight, with some of your connections in the Big 12. I just don't think it was a solid year this year.
Back to coaching, though, is South can coach. So, all right, it's your turn to continue the conversation in the comments section with Marco and me. And next up, I'm going to be doing a video where I break down my bracket tips. We've got 26 years of history. Don't miss it.